Hey guys, so I'm really happy to be tonight here with Yana Pannecoucke, who is the founder. Yes, I I did right. Who is the founder of Ecoscapes, and I'm really curious to find everything there is to be found out about the retreats that she's organizing. Hi Yana, happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me too, Anka. I'm very happy to be here.
So let's jump into this subject, right? So
Yeah.
who are you and what is Ecoscapes?
Yes, Ecoscapes is my business through which I co-create eco-conscious retreats with coaches or online entrepreneurs. And basically that means, well, I said co-creation. That means that I take care of research and logistics behind the retreats, while the coach or the entrepreneur focuses on the content. And the reason behind why I'm offering this service is because I want to help coaches and entrepreneurs host retreats that have a transformational impact on their participants, but also on their destination. That's why I highlight eco-conscious retreats. And I also work with independent travelers, and there I create customized sustainable travel itineraries because I want to help them like take amazing memories back home, but leave a positive impact behind. And how I got this weird idea is because I've been an avid traveler for over 10 years, and I worked as a journalist for many years. And then I sort of got the idea to bring my passion and my skills together and shape this service that's based on research and logistics. And that's something that many people really don't like. And I love it. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, great. And like, I'm curious, when you say eco retreats, what are the principles of that, or what makes a retreat eco? And the second question that is linked to this is about sustainable or ethical traveling, and how, like, what is the translation of that?
That's an interesting topic, especially since there are so many discussions going on these days about can you fly or can you not fly? And I think it's different for every case. Depends also a little bit on the country. Like there are many options out there, and the basics I try to focus on in the first place is always look at sustainable accommodation and activities because these are most widely available. Like what I mean with that is places that are built in an eco-friendly way, that have policies in place, like for example, they don't use plastic, um,
Mm-hmm.
or that have local projects that empower local community. They give like training or equal wages. They make sure like equal women and men are employed, but then also focus on the protection of the local ecosystem. So it goes on a lot of levels. So oftentimes projects focus on some more than others, but then I find it important to see like what's the story behind, what are they working towards, and what do we want to support, where are they going, what's their long-term vision. So all these aspects come into play. And then if you talk about activities, then we could focus on like, do they have a social impact model behind it? Are they empowering certain vulnerable groups in the community through their work? Are they focusing to regenerate certain type of land that have been um, can't find the word, like polluted, and they want to
Yeah,
keep it through the activity.
altered.
You have a lot of activities, you can just book them, but then to choosing a different accommodation or a different activity, you're actually going to send money towards your activity, but then also there is another layer behind it. And then, of course, the more technical stuff is the transportation. How can we make it as sustainable as possible? And then I say avoid flying, of course, but there is this one little thing that depending on the distance you're trying to travel and the time, of course, because it's a formula that has a few things that you have to take into consideration. But depending on the distance, you could say like we should do this by bus, but then it would be less polluting to take the plane. So it's not a black and white story, and it will take me like a lot more time to go into every detail. So that's why when I share my story and I wanted to encourage more people to embrace it, I start with accommodation and activities first.
But it's
I,
great that in the logistics, like, you actually take the time to like calculate through this formula, which means that transportation is more sustainable for that specific retreat or for that specific excursion, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we look at the distances where the people would come from, because I work online and I can work with people worldwide. And that makes sense then to look at like, where are you from? Where will you be hosting? Which people do you target? And let's say you have to take a plane. It's unavoidable, then you can still find ways around it. People offset carbon. That's also like a topic where there is a lot of discussion about. But if I can share one takeaway that I find interesting, sometimes people say like, we plant one tree for every so much carbon. But
Yeah.
I want to encourage you to support projects that actually advocate for trees not to be removed in the first place. Because it's great that trees are planted and it's very important, but it takes so many years before that tree
Yeah.
is free and can compensate the carbon. So yeah, there are very
Yeah.
different ways that we can see like, how can we have the biggest impact in the shortest amount of time.
So the retreats that you are organizing, I imagine that they are based all around the world, right?
Yeah.
They're not only.
No, it's a global service, and in fact, since it's a co-creation, the retreats are not my own. I want to be like the person behind the scenes who is taking care about everything. So it can be on a business retreat or a health retreat or a yoga retreat. It's basically me and the coach or the entrepreneur who has this content he wants to share, that work together. So that can be in either location or in either topic.
Great, that's amazing. How, like, what was your basic motivation for developing this kind of business model?
I actually did. I read a book called Ikigai. I don't know if you heard about it. Yeah, so that's actually how the idea came into existence. And then just from like, I had this spark of how can I empower people to raise sustainable tourism and find a business model around it that can have most impact. So I initially wanted to work only with travelers, because I've been a traveler, but then I've been involved in so many personal growth and spirituality and business mindset coaching and so on, that I thought, why not work with retreats? Because people that go on retreats and host retreats, they have a very open mind. So they are willing to look at the deeper meaning of things. And if we work with groups, I have a bigger impact, because more people get the chance to experience this, perhaps for the first time. And then I worked together with a business coach, because I came from journalism and I developed it into a business idea together with her. So it was an interesting journey so far.
Absolutely. Do you travel to all the retreats that you co-create?
No, not necessarily. I think it's more sustainable if I don't. I prefer slow travel if I can, and overland. But it's possible. It's like part of the services. But generally, I tap into my own network I have from working abroad, from traveling. So I know like places I recommend are trustworthy. And I can make sure like everything is arranged from a distance. And there is a local responsible person who can like take care of the small detail stuff that's going on the ground, for example. So it's not necessary, but if somebody would like me to be there as a trust, like a person who he can trust, then of course I'm happy to go. I love retreat.
That was my first idea. I was like, oh my God, like you get to travel and then to take part in retreats, like this is the dream life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's always an option, definitely.
Yeah. Then again, it's really beautiful the fact that you are actually empowering the communities by investing in local people, and like you give them the skills if they don't have the skills, I imagine. And anyhow, like who knows better Bali or who knows better Ubud than somebody who lives actually Ubud.
Exactly. So there's always a way around it, and in the end, I think it's indeed more sustainable.
Yeah, cool. We are talking about sustainability, and I feel that all these like like magical words, they became like, ooh, sustainability, that sounds nice, I'm just gonna stick it on myself and on everything that I produce. But then again, sustainability is just definition, and I think it's a very personal approach, as you mentioned that. From your point of view, what does sustainability mean, and what does conscious living mean?
Well, let's start with conscious living. For me, conscious living means that I question things that I take for granted. Are there any habits I haven't thought about earlier that perhaps aren't really as sustainable as I like them to be? And then, if I'm very honest, like perhaps there are better ways to do things, and that can go in any area of life. So that to me means conscious living and sustainability. It means taking action. Sometimes the truth is not what we want to hear, but it would be better if you would take on action on it anyway. And then I try to incorporate things. I'll maybe share a practical example. Well, I already mentioned on the travel department that taking planes should be off the list. Occasionally it will happen, but I try to like cut down or don't if I can avoid it. But then also in food, like eat less meat and then actually move forward and make it less and less convenient. And now I almost transitioned into a vegan, but it took me like 5 years that I've been slowly working my way towards getting used to all the things you eat as a vegan, because it's not necessarily about being conscious. It's about incorporating the habits and making the habit sustainable. That's sustainability to me.
I love that, and I actually appreciate very much both your definitions. The first part about conscious living, I was like, this blew my mind. You know what I mean? Because it's true. Like if you think about it, it's exactly about that, questioning things that you take for granted, and like questioning basically the status quo to change it into something that is that is creating a beneficial impact and not a negative one.
Yeah, and it's a fun way to look at things, because then I like to discover new things, but just by having a positive and open mindset, it's like, oh, this is a fun new thing, and I embrace it. Whereas I'd be like, oh, what's that? I don't know it. It makes it easier to incorporate new habits into your life. So I think it's fun so far.
Yeah, I can spot the self-development work there.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, this is fear. I'm gonna be curious about it.
Yeah,
Or because there's a lot of resistance when I talk to people about things that we all know that we should do. You know what I mean? They are the good way, and I think that there is very little discussion about that. But there is a lot of discussion about integrating those things, and that's where resistance comes up for many people. And I honor that. I understand that each of us has a time and a choice at one point. But if somebody were to come and to be like, hey Yana, so now I'm committed to like changing my lifestyle. Do you have any tips for somebody who's like just this morning woke up and is like, I think that living a conscious, sustainable life would be the thing for me? What would be your first 3 tips?
3 tips? Okay.
Yeah.
How far I get. My first tip is take the smallest action possible. The smallest. Like even if it seems insignificant. We can go into self-development talk and words, but I'll try to keep it very simple. It's because if the action is so small, it can't trigger your fears or resistance. It will be easier to keep going. And if you take a step, you'll be like, yeah, that's too much effort, and you create excuses. But if it's small, you would rather get curious to like, it's so small, and then after a while you get used to it and you want to take the second step. Yeah. So yeah, make it as small as possible so you barely don't notice. But in a year from now, who knows what will happen by then.
Yeah.
What other tip? I think start with something that you're curious about and that looks fun. It shouldn't be like a serious or difficult thing. What I noticed, for example, from becoming a vegan, like many people are like, oh, it's hard and you're gonna have like too little of this and this in your blood and you're gonna be tired and weak. And then I think by just talking about it in this way, it becomes a difficult thing. Whereas if you just like make it more fun and enjoyable, then it doesn't need to be so hard. And you can just do that in every area of your life. Start with a fun, small thing. Don't take it too serious, because then it's not. It shouldn't be like a restriction. It should be like oh, I can't do this and I can't do this. No, you can have different experiences. So it's the way of looking at things. I think I got 3 things.
Yeah. If we put them together, so it's the simple step thing, and then something that you are curious about, and then just make it fun. Don't like put restrictions on the things that you are doing. And I was smiling at the beginning because I was thinking about this, like make a very small step that your defense mechanisms will actually not realize that you are like changing something. And you're like sneaking little by little, and one day you're like, oh my god, I'm not eating meat anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for sharing that, Yana. And I had another question about that, but I forgot it because I started laughing about defense mechanisms. No, exactly. It was about how, people who are not doing the things that you've started doing, and then they are questioning them, and they are giving you like this statistic and scientific data based arguments, whereas I feel that like just doing the experience will give you much more insight into whatever kind of lifestyle you want to have. I've never heard of anybody dying because they had a carence of proteins. Like no vegan ever died because they didn't have enough protein. So we are okay with the proteins. Though there are a lot of like chickpeas that we can eat.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. At this point in your life, what is your biggest dream?
My biggest dream is to through working in my business and on my business, I hope to become fully location independent, and that I can just travel full time and work full time at the same time. At this point, I'm still in one location, and the sooner I get things moving, the better. So that's for now. Like I've launched the business. That was the main goal. It's been going, and now this is taking it on the road is my next goal.
How far? So you are traveling usually by bus, I imagine, or like what is the means of transportation that would be most sustainable? Like, well, the question is, sorry, because it's very complicated. If I put it like that. My curiosity would be, what is the furthest that you've gone without taking a plane, and what means of transportation did you use?
Oh, the furthest. Well, if I went to Asia or to Africa, that would be by plane until now. I tried to go to Africa by boat, but then I didn't know I needed an international passport and we had to stay in Europe. So yeah, I've tried it, but it didn't work out. And then in Europe, I think car and boat or bus. Yeah, like ferry combined with parts with the car. Yeah. These two, like equal to each other. Yeah. I'd like to take more trains. The overnight trains in Europe, it's becoming more popular. But then, depending on where you go, it's also a bit expensive. So it takes a little bit of research, but it's definitely doable. And that's the next one on my list. Because I love to be in trains, see the scenery. It's so much nicer.
Yeah.
And actually, I planned to do it this summer. Like there is a lot of trains that are going throughout the whole Balkans. It's quite a lot. You end up at the Adriatic coast. That's going to be for next summer.
Yeah. Cool. This was exactly what I was thinking about trains, because I also love trains, and now like you can have Wi-Fi and you can continue working, and then I wanted to go to Siberia.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that if you go back, like I can be wrong, like early 20th century, I read an article a few months ago about it from the Belgian border, like the coast. You could actually easily travel, like easily, of course, not comfortably, but it was possible to like just take the train from here all the way to Iran or Iraq. I forgot which city, like Baghdad, I think. So it was Iraq. You could just go there by train. And these days, of course, there are still trains, but like either people have forgotten or it's less accessible to find the
Yeah.
information to actually do it. So it's a
Mm-mm.
shift and
Yeah.
also like policy that has to make it more popular again.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be cool if the train became popular again.
Yeah, exactly. It would be great
Yeah.
if like nations would work together much more on, especially in the European Union. I
Mm.
mean, there is no place that can be easier than there. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. True. So in what you are doing now with your business and also in your life, what is your biggest motivation?
I get most energy from inspiring people and encouraging to try something new, as you might have guessed from my enthusiast tips and
Yeah.
and then if I can combine it with travel and have an impact, those two together, that's the best for me. And well,
Mm.
it basically reflects my business, so I did a good job. But yeah, actually, in any area of life, when I can do some research, find new things, and then make people enthusiastic to try it, and then they like it or they learn something new, then I'm like, yay, this was a success. So yeah, that's like the ground or the red line or something.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. I like it because it's very coherent and yeah. I'm like,
Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself, but
so in your business, when did you start your business again?
a few months ago, I've been working on it. Like,
Uh-huh.
started. Actually, I started last year, but then I got really ill and I had to pause. And then
Mhm.
I started again before the summer, but the official launch was September. So it's
Oh,
been
cool,
like
cool,
in
cool.
bits and pieces, but I keep going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's very recent. I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's only, yeah, 3 months. So, yeah, now that you are thinking about ecoscapes, what would success look like from your point of view?
Success looks like getting a lot of people enthusiastic to embrace sustainable practices with my help, but also perhaps like by spreading the word and become. I want it to become more of a standard as an exception. So that would be great.
Yeah, yeah.
Plant seeds, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I was thinking, I think that I was in one of like the fast fashion shops, and I was thinking how now it's like all about conscious fashion, and one day it will be just fashion, hopefully. So yeah, absolutely, like normalizing what is now conscious and sustainable living. Yeah,
Exactly. And I think fashion is a great example because only like 1 or 2 years ago, almost no one was talking about sustainable
yeah,
fashion. If you're like following the trends a little bit, these
yeah,
days exploding, and I love it because
yeah.
it's like example that other industries or areas will follow in this trend because more and more people are curious towards this new way of consuming, let's say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really, really happy that this is happening and it's at least like gaining more visibility. And on the other hand, like just with everything that is on the hype, uh, there is a lot of misinterpreting or misinterpretation about that, and a lot of marketing that is just using sustainability to sell
Yeah,
that are not really sustainable. But I think that little by little, with like policy making that is aligning with the actual principles of sustainability, we're gonna get there. And yes, hopefully
yeah,
that's gonna become standard.
yeah. I want to say there's a lot of greenwashing, but I think they make use of people having sometimes limited knowledge, so it's easy to get the idea sold. But as
Yeah.
you said about fashion, the more it becomes the standard, the more people won't buy into that anymore. So things like the child disease thing, or maybe I'm just trying to be very positive, but I hope like it will improve over time.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, like I'm sure about the improvement. I just like with everything, I guess that it's like that when the hype comes in, and then again, you know what I mean? There are so like just talking about fashion, there are so many aspects into fashion, like from the textile, because how they are produced, how they are transported, how the actual plant, like the cotton, for example, where was it planted, and how was it like harvested, and so on and so forth. That for me at this moment, I'm a little bit reticent believing that the fast fashion stores and fast fashion brands really switched from like within what 1-2 years from the way that they were doing things into sustainable fashion. But then again, it's great that it's gaining more visibility, and it's great that people are making some steps towards that. And that consumers, we the people, are becoming more and more demanding. And I like that. I like the fact that like my friends who are maybe not like into sustainability, they are starting to look at the labels and they're like, oh no, I'm not going to buy this because it has that. And you said that it's not good for my skin. And I'm like, yes.
You see?
Yeah.
Telling my parents or my friends, like, don't buy these brands. They're not doing any efforts, or they're not communicating about them. But well, they all have their PR agents, persons. So if they would actually do the work, they would be more than happy to like highlight it a lot, because they know that they can convince a lot of people with it. So if they don't talk, they don't act, I think. And even some brands, they say they act, but they are.
Yeah.
It's questionable, let's say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important to be demanding and to like there is this fancy word now to the wallet activism.
Yeah.
That you say like you vote with your wallet which brands that continue going. But I hope like there will be enough demand from a large enough group of people to also push big brands to become more sustainable as well. But I think we'll get there. There are some actions, so the ball has started rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also starting, like, for me, sustainability is like empowerment. It's actually about sustainability really comes hand in hand with empowering individuals. And once people really understand that we do matter, like as individuals, we do matter, and the little things that we are doing do matter. Like, it's not about being arrogant or whatever, but you do understand that, like, when you are investing money into whatever or whomever, you are actually vouching for that person, right? Or for that brand or whatever. And I think that, when people come together, usually retreats, like connect the people who are like-minded. And then I love this because it's like the minds are opening, and we are creating all these things that are nurturing our minds, and then we come back into our communities and we are able to make an even bigger impact, even if it's like just around us with our friends and families.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. So we talked about success, and I love the fact that also, when we talk about business success, usually people think about like the money side, or no, you talked about contribution, and you talked about the impact that you want to create by educating or like helping people realize their role. Yeah, the role that we are all playing.
By showing the way, educating, it's in various ways. Even if I write a blog post, and I just hope to like spark some ideas in people's minds. So it can be in very multiple levels.
Yeah,
or planting here as well. That's another example. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you find most rewarding in the work that you are carrying out now?
It's actually the same as I said to the question, like what is making me feel rewarded in general. If I can inspire and empower people, whether that's my clients, who is like a unique format that's different from other formats right now, at least it will become more general. Yeah, like getting these new ideas and new practices shared with other people, and then see them embrace it.
Yeah, I like that. You see, I think that a part of sustainability is also the fact that we are a lot focusing on contribution and the idea of sharing and coming together. And I think it's also about like this cyclic economy that we are talking about. It also comes from that. It also spurs from the ideas that we're actually sharing. And that being said, I also wanted to touch upon on the money aspect, because many people, they are like, oh, I'm not gonna give 100 euros on a T-shirt, or on a, I don't know, I'm not gonna pay much more on a shampoo than I would pay if I were to buy it from a supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not yet understood that it's like it takes money to create a certain quality to pay a fair wage.
Yeah.
And for me, it's also about like educating people about when you are investing in something, something that is not harming you, and more than not harming you is actually doing something good, or doing
Yeah.
like being beneficial for your skin or for the environment. It's an investment in yourself. You're not giving that money for a brand to become like bigger and grander. It's just an investment in yourself and in your worth, in your value.
Yeah, I fully agree to that. And I think that's part of a mindset shift. Like what
Yeah.
you describe is something you experience after you've like experienced it. Otherwise, you couldn't describe it that way. So at first, you need to like give it a try, and then you will afterwards only notice like actually this makes me feel better. Like perhaps like when it's about clothes, it could be like I'm more proud of the clothes I wear, or I don't want to have these cheap clothes anymore because now that I've bought the other ones, I become more aware of the story and I can't support it if I'm honest. Or if you do it with meat, eating less meat, and you say like, I also feel the effects in my body, and like the action creates like a reaction, and it's that reaction that keeps you going. Like for example, my boyfriend was like the biggest meat eater, and now he's like almost vegan, like, and I didn't push him because he wouldn't allow me, but it's just because he experienced the difference
Yeah,
that he was like, that's what convinced him to keep going.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't think you can convince, like what you said earlier as well, with hard arguments. It's mostly it's try it and then see for yourself how it feels. And then there
Yeah.
are other practical things like perhaps this product you buy, whatever it is, like it's more sustainable, it's a bit more expensive, but perhaps it lasts longer. So you have
Mm.
to look a bit further than just like the actual price tag, but how long will it last? And if you have like a single use thing, perhaps you just have to replace it much faster, and in the end you pay triple the price. But it's like
Yeah.
the word, like they call it like the reward comes later, the
Hmm.
investment comes first, and then yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mindset thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also it's a mindset shift in understanding that many of us are really focused on the present moment, and we're like, okay, fast everything. I'm just gonna have this whatever Big Mac. But like how many of us are thinking the fact that I've been using that shampoo for a while on my scalp and on my hair made my hair become thinner, and thus now I have to invest in, I don't know, like what kind of expensive hair growth treatments, or I think that the link is not created yet. And when we are going to create that link, then it's going to be obvious. Like, of course I'm not going to put on my skin something that is full of toxic colorants, because I
Yeah,
know that afterwards I'm going to pay the price one way or another. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Cool, Yana. On your path, who and what inspires or inspired you?
A lot of people. But to keep it in the on the topic we discussed, I think I really admire all those entrepreneurs, and some people haven't been entrepreneur, who try to come up with disruptive and new solutions to problems we face today. Is it in health? Is it technology? Is it climate change? But
Mhm.
I noticed that, or in the sustainability movement, like people really embrace this challenge of how can we do it better? How can we do it like with a long-term positive result that's good for people, but also for the planet?
Yeah.
And like the industry in which you do it doesn't really matter, but the fact that you're trying something new. A lot of solo entrepreneurs who are like going for a passion, but a passion combined with a positive impact. I'm not like in either which field, but the fact that you're trying to go it and do it in a new way that gets a lot of critique from the old way. I think that's
Yeah.
great.
Mm.
Yeah, that's something that really inspires me to keep going, because I too get this critique sometimes, like people just go to travel agencies, they won't work with someone like you. And then I'm like, no, I believe like I've done the market research. I've talked to so many people. Perhaps the way I do it is a new way, but it's definitely possible. So yeah, all
Mm.
these people who keep going this against the odds, so to say, that's really inspiring for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that because I also like I like thinking about that, and I was also thinking when we were talking about fast fashion, about how impersonal everything is, you know. And hey, Juana, so somebody's just saying, "Hey, have a nice evening." It's very impersonal, and then like now as I'm doing this with you, I'm also doing with other people who are creating apparel or like clothes, or they are creating these gorgeous natural beauty products. And when I get that, and I get like a card signed, you know, Melissa from Awake Organics, or and I'm like, this, it should be about this, you know what I mean? I know the story. I know where it's coming from. I know it's a family business. And I can feel that every morning when I'm using this amazing scrub on my face. I'm like, oh my God, this is like pure happiness and health, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I totally get it. I'm the same. There's much more joy in it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I really can feel the fact that the people who are creating, it doesn't matter. They are creating clothes, or they are creating tech, or they are creating, you know, they are in it with their soul, and you can really feel that in the way that they are like writing the mails, and how they are replying to the mails, and how they're interacting with you, and just like the product, that the end product that has a story in itself. And I also like to know, you know, like the fast, I'm sure that the person who created the two people who created H&M, they also came like at the beginning, they had this passion, you know what I mean? But I feel that it's kind of lost, and now it's a big chunk of money, which is great. I love money. I think that money is great value. Like
Yeah, of course.
it's like such a small part of the whole process and of the whole story. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's equally important because for a long time I had this idea like I don't want money, I only want value. But then I realized like if I don't have money, I cannot invest in value. So both
Yeah,
go together, and you can use money as much as for a force for good as for a force for bad, and that's your choice.
absolutely, absolutely. And I did notice that, like also in the spiritual scene. And I think that also in like entrepreneurs that are fighting for a cause, that are like trying to create a better product, and something that is serving in a more positive way. There is this like unease around money, and around like putting a price on the things that they are doing. And I can understand that, because I've been there too. When you are giving your soul, like how much does that cost? What
Exactly.
price does my soul have?
Exactly. That's something, yeah, you
Yeah,
feel what
yeah,
feels good.
yeah.
That's And even then, it's still sometimes challenging, but it's important to like honor yourself. And I actually read this quote earlier today, which is appropriate to what you're saying right now. Like, don't ask somebody else your value, because they will always say a lower price than you will say yourself. So it's a matter of like looking into the mirror and have the confidence to stand behind yourself and your offer. I think it's
Mm.
a continuous practice, but you get better at it.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So thank you very much, Yana. It was a really pleasure to meet you, even if we are meeting online.
Yeah.
I just want to share with the people who are watching this, and the people who will be watching this once it's gonna be on YouTube, the fact that they can find you on your website. uh, my agenda. I was like, oh my God, where is that? Okay, so first we can find you on the website, which is ecoscapes.co,
Yeah,
and then on all social media with at eco_scapes,
yeah, exactly. That's it. And
and
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
on Facebook, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What did you mean to say?
I wanted to say I have whether it's for coaches or just a traveler, I have this ebook on my website full of like more in detail ideas and like links to where you can find sustainable accommodation or trips. So if I spark some interest, that could be like a place to find a bit more information.
Yeah, that would be great. So it's on your website, right? On the website.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's
Cool,
just
cool,
download it for free, so it should be easy to find.
cool. Okay, cool. So thank you very much, Yana. I'm really, really happy that we got a chance to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, we have, okay. I did cover the 2 comments because I was like, oh, we have 2 comments. So if people want to reach out, they can find you on your website and also on social media. And well, that would be it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you about all these topics. I think we could keep going, but it's
Yeah.
okay to wrap it up after a while.
Cool. So thank you everybody for being online tonight with us, and then make sure to check out the YouTube video, and you will find there all the links towards the website and the social media profiles, and make sure to check the ebook on the website to find all the good stuff.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a happy day. Bye.
Bye, you too. Bye.